Good evening, everyone. We have a smaller crowd than usual, but maybe it'll pick up. I wonder if it's that time of the year when people start hanging out at home a little more than usual. Welcome to Soul Food Poetry Night. I'm Michael Dillon Welch, and I'm your fearless curator. This is our 101st reading. We've been doing this for more than 8 years, and it's great to reach these high numbers. We have 2 featured readers tonight. Is the mic behaving? Okay. And before we get into that, I have a poem. Whoops. I have a poem to read you by Wendell Berry. This is called How to Be a Poet. And he says at the beginning in parentheses, to remind myself. Part 1. Make a place to sit down. Sit down. Be quiet. You must depend upon affection, reading, knowledge, skill, more of each than you have. Inspiration, work, growing older, patience. For patience joins time to eternity. Any readers who like your poems doubt their judgment. 2. Breathe with unconditional breath the unconditioned air. Shun electric wire. Communicate slowly. Live a 3-dimensioned life. Stay away from screens. Stay away from anything that obscures the place it is in. There are no unsacred places. There are only sacred places and desecrated places. 3. Accept what comes from silence. Make the best you can of it. Of the little words that come out of the silence like prayers prayed back to the one who prays, make a poem that does not disturb the silence from which it came. Wendell Berry. If you'd like to sign up for the open mic, we have a sign-up sheet right here. And as is our custom here, to have a question of the month. Our question this month, supplied by one of our featured readers, is, what is the taste of rain? Did I get that right? What is the taste of rain? So please answer that question if you can, if you'd like to read. So our first reader tonight is Felicia Gonzalez, and she's just come off being the curator for this year's Jack Straw Writers Program, which is something I highly recommend you check out. I was part of it a few years ago, and it's a wonderful program where you're given support to write material, to record things. Poems are collected in an anthology. There's wonderful readings that are set up. I had a magical year when I did it. And it's run by the Jack Straw Productions in Seattle in the U District. And they also have music and composition and other programs too, media arts. They have a small gallery there and studios, recording studios that are wonderful. You get training on recording your voice. They do interviews and podcasts with the poets. It's a wonderful program that I highly recommend. And you were the curator for this past year. So Felicia Gonzalez was born in Cuba. She's a Hedgebrook alumna and as I mentioned, the curator for the Jack Straw program this year. Her writing has received numerous awards, including an Artist Trust Washington State Arts Commission Fellowship. She is a poet and short fiction writer. She's currently working on a collection of interrelated short stories, Swimming in Mercury, exploring the relationship of language to identity, which received support from For Culture and the Seattle Office of Arts and Culture. Please welcome Felicia Gonzalez.
Great. Thank you, Michael, and thank you all for coming out on this slightly wet Thursday evening. So as Michael mentioned, I was born and raised in Cuba and came to the U.S., and some of the work that I'll share with you this evening, some of these poems, focus or perhaps echo some of those experiences, the experience of leaving homeland and maybe trying to adopt a new homeland, and also what it means to write in a language that isn't your mother tongue. Not necessarily a bad thing, but an experience in and of itself. This first piece was part of a gallery exhibition where poets were paired with visual artists. This was down at the Benham Gallery in Seattle, and I wanted to share it with you tonight because of this theme, but also because of the environmental changes we see around us, or at least I'm seeing those more and more. The title of this piece is Palo Blanco, and it begins with a quote from a visual artist, German visual artist, Wolfgang Leib, in a catalog of his work entitled Wolfgang Leib, A Journey. And here's the quote. "There is a reality that is beyond the imagination. It seems magical, but it is there, just in front of you." Palo Blanco. Under this same humid sky, time steps forward and back, dancing regardless of partner. The connection to land, resistant and rebellious. I am in the trees above you, vigilant of your sleep. Memory does not play with us. Memory exacts a toll, heavy and wet, rends each artery. Where is the exact location geography and memory meet? The absolute and fluid nature of what we know, what we fear, what we love. It is both constantly close and far, both the home country and the distant place. We rush to feel the hard pelting of rain released from clouds, smell the dust that rises, the fast sting of water as we duck under a ghost tree after the burning season. We want the storm, and we want to be sheltered from the storm. These next couple of poems are from a chapbook that I had the great pleasure of working with a visual artist and designer on, and we did this little limited edition chapbook, which I have a few copies left, and I brought this here today if you're interested. And the title is Recollection Graffiti. It's the title of the chapbook, and the poems, as I mentioned, they focus on those places that are close to us, those places that we remember, those places that we long to remember. Amarga. In Havana, there is a street called Bitterness. Gestures can contain everything and sometimes only emptiness. Guantanamera at the airport serenading arrival. Only half of me always remained here. Grandfather's hats, the only things returned from the nursing home. Stains and creases along the crowns, a forest of fingerprints. Running my hand along the smooth felt, like loading a record on the player, hearing music spilling out. Along the inner band, where his head sheltered from sun and unfamiliar rain, where the gray hair began to reflect light from elsewhere, where the lettering on the label became more faded than eyesight. I knew my country before setting foot back in its avenues by watching the careful navigation of grandfather's fingers on his hat. Villanelle for Unremembered Childhood. The only thing that I'd like to call out in this, there's a reference, Guida, and that's actually a rural town in Cuba. So you'll hear that word in this poem. Villanelle for Unremembered Childhood. Words are anticipated rain, dropping on foliage, finally relenting growth while others sleep. Casting about family photographs, tracing likenesses, and composing conspiracies that make word like anticipated rain. How to be certain which house belongs to whom, children at dangerous play while others sleep. What to make of the angle of Aunt Estella's head? Who was drifting from her gaze? Could she have been anticipating rain? A sudden tangle of trumpet vine reflecting across my mother's white dress, scalloped edges she worked while others slept. On my own thin skin raced the tracks of red earth from Guida, indistinguishable from blood. Words heavy with rain while other lives sleep. Are some of you familiar with the For Culture King County Arts Commission Poetry on Buses program? Do you know about that? So after it being disappeared for several years, it just relaunched. There's a great new website that features a new poem every single day. And early in my time here in Seattle, when that program was an annual occurrence, I submitted a poem, and then later, my mother was alive at the time, and I told her, oh, I have a poem on the bus. And she said, oh, that's a great thing. Congratulations. And she asked me to tell her the title of the poem. And when I did, she says, well, that figures. Now everybody knows that you're shameless. And the poem, which I'll share with you, is entitled Sin Vergüenza, which in Spanish means without shame. Sin vergüenza. Fought my mother with my foul mouth, talked myself out of tradition, talked myself into a new culture, talked on the telephone at all hours, talked on the streets at anyone, talked about myself at length, heard no one. The passionate embrace of flesh. Rolled into this cloth, two grandmothers. As a child, I could not understand why they would not speak the same language, why they both looked like me and not like me. While Why the US one refused to learn Spanish when English seemed so much more hostile. Only Cuban Chinese food allowed them to share the same black beans and rice. Then stories with tobacco. Some of you might know that in Old Havana is one of the oldest Chinatowns, actually, in this hemisphere. And there is a Cuban Chinese community. And in New York, although there are far fewer of them than there used to be, but there are Cuban Chinese restaurants, which, as my friend Ernesto Fong, who I swore when he spoke Chinese did so with a Cuban accent, would order black beans and rice, and we could both share those under the same star, as it were. Vexed geographies. And this begins with a quote from the French writer Marcel Proust. The countries which we long for occupy a far larger place in our actual life than the country in which we happen to be. Vexed geographies. Desire transformed the house, bridging the blank spaces while we learn to take the surprise as gift. Earth is not absolute, only the memory. Wood carried in the belly of an ailing ship, salvaged a desire to transform a house. Rain coming and staying while grandmother's hair braids itself into the furniture, laughing and taking the surprise as gift. Cane fields cut like the shorn heads of country boys, boiling sugar scent in the folds of clothes, managing to heat a desire that transformed a house. High summer red clay in cool, dark, tobacco leaves sleep like precious moths, its smoke a surprise gift. Grandfather's square thumbs mark the entire map, but here is the evidence of desire transforming a house and history surprising when bearing gifts. I think of childhood as a strange and magical and unpredictable time. I think especially when you have great cultural shifts in your childhood, that it kind of heightens that sense of things being unusual, things being perhaps not all that they seem. Hopefully this piece will have some of that flavor for you. She does not own infinity. The girls are tempting fate again, double dutch pitched with laughter flying through the window. That moment of suspension, suspended animation where you are weightless and can perch upon thin air. Your thinness balanced in flight, hair laughing, tu pelo rizado along with your mouth. Jump, jump, how we must jump. A girl has to move quickly, not to be caught. This rope, this cord, its thinness binds us. And then soaring, you become a communicator. Childhood games conjure the universe, tempt the fate of skinned knees and hurt pride. Como cantas. Jump, jump, now we must jump. Catch the moment of suspended time. Reflect the light with your own fingers, calling out their names. A map of the Caribbean, place cards of empire. The rope slacks, then is taut once more, catching your indecisive leg. The arc now swings over your head. You ignore the sting of the street on your skin, utterly focused on the figure 8, which now turns on its side. You jump, jump without a rope. This poem is a territory, after Harriet Mullen. Poetry changes our shape, swallowing sparks and ingesting fire. The word moon, sharp, biting, will not cross my tongue. In the throat, iron becomes smoke. In the mouth, silk and blood. Name 2 words for falcon and 1 for dream. Cazador, la luna creciente, ladrón. Cazador, hunter, la luna creciente, the waxing moon, ladrón, thief. Recollection graffiti. Havana night, moon and echo of roundness, finger strain and tug like long drinks and slow music. Why can't I dream? Now that I'm here, the time of waiting, the purse of anticipation, the sleepless moisture of midnight, do not bring me Cuba. At once familiar and foreign, familial and fierce, you who have stormed and stolen my dreams for almost 30 years, now smirk and wink as I drift off to sleep each night earlier than the last. The images I trap in my disposable camera are ghosts of themselves, chilled to the temperature of cocoa ice cream at the 24-hour bakery in Vedado. Maldita noche, deprive me of sleep, steal every memory, every fondness. Malevolent night, take from me the task of remembering and wanting. Maldita noche, strip from me all desire to smother my fish soul in your darkness. Malevolent night, teach me to dream while awake. So I've been reading to you a bit about Cuba, and this next piece is actually about making the journey from Cuba back to the U.S., in this case, back to New York. Place. Arriving in New York City from Havana on a Saturday morning in January, there is so much ice, time itself is almost frozen. People pass one another quickly, flying to escape the cold. Ice rains. On the edges of sidewalk, dirty boulders threaten to swallow trash along with neighborhood cats. Central Park, sunlit shards cracked by the weight of children, dogs, and adults. I measure tiredness by the pace of the breath that willows white. The ground is talking, speaking winter, telling us the dream of spring is far beyond our immediate footsteps. We don't even understand the simple words for budding, for flower. On Sunday, the city waits for the arrival of a new storm. It shudders against the cold riding from Bleecker Street subway station. Snow like hip-hop. It jumps at my body, then jumps back. I pass the Liz Christie garden where the snow hums to the sleeping plants. 10,000 waiting lives, tender-veined stars. Winter takes the fire deeper into the roots, buries the spark until thaw. I wonder what the Michigan prairie looks like now, Judith translating Cuban poets surrounded by blankets of snow and buzzing stillness, the waiting of lonely trees and the long echo of birds whose wings tire from beating against the cold. I wonder about Plaza de las Armas in Old Havana, the slow amble around the fountains, the bookstalls tangling our feet in dusty words, the slow literary waltz that's been repeated for over 200 centuries. The melancholy fuchsia of the flamboyant. Here, then, are the circles that contract and expand, join and separate, called wordlessly and shout when we think they are finally out of breath. Here, then, are the places so familiar we draw new maps with each morning's cup of coffee. Here, then, are the voices, eyes we pass on the street, hands we shake, children we smile or cry out to. Smells which rise to remind us of either how close or how far we are from home. Here, then, is the place we take within us no matter where we travel. The place that refuses to hold a passport or present a visa. Here, then, is who we are, regardless of geography. So, thinking about soul food, I wanted to share a short piece by Richard Blanco. How many of you had a chance to see him when he was presented with Seattle Reads at the Seattle Public Library? Do any of you know who he is? He was also someone unknown to me until he was the poet that read at the 2013 inaugural. And he happens to be the first Latino poet who read for President's inaugural. He's the youngest so far. He is Cuban, and he's also gay. And so lots of firsts in that one moment. And since he first came to Seattle last spring, we've gotten to know one another, and I wanted to share this poem that for me speaks to that sense of what is soul food, what nourishes our soul. This is from a long series, or a poem in several sections entitled Abuela's Voices, a Chronicle. Abuela in Spanish means grandmother, and his grandmother was both someone beloved to him and someone who persecuted him, because from early on she knew he was gay, and quite literally she wanted to beat that out of him. Abuela's Voices, a Chronicle. 2. Arriba, the ripe ones are all the way at the top. I need at least 10 more. Why can't you reach them? The leaves filter out her hollers into whispers at the top of Ms. Pike's mango tree, where I am perched above all the neighborhood rows of rooftops, fence lines, and telephone poles. I'm almost a little god, my body suspended from my left arm hooked around the trunk, my right arm with a broom hunting through branches for ripe colored mangoes. 1/3 emerald, 1/3 ruby, 1/3 gold, falling from the sky down to Abuela below me, scuttling like a hen after every rolling mango that lands unscathed. Hours later, we return with full buckets swinging on the handlebars. All afternoon, she'll lean over the kitchen sink, skinning mangoes, whistling boleros off key, pausing every few minutes to remember love. All afternoon, she'll force pound after pound of sugar into her mangos, making her famous mermelada for her sisters and sisters' friends, to show off her sweet thumb, and how high I climbed, how strong her machito is getting. And I'll close with this. Maternal instinct. There really is a right way to make rice. Measure the grains carefully, not really against anything except themselves. Turn them over to look for stones. Wash the rice 3 times in cold water. The starch will make your fingers slippery. The grains are now like a riverbed, your hand moving deliberately. These grains are also prayer beads, the syncopated forgetting of hunger. Set the heat to high and stir the rice once, clockwise. Don't make the household saints angry by stirring in the wrong direction. Once white foam signals it's boiled, set to very low heat. That sliver on the dial before off. Cover. Now comes the difficult part, the waiting. Think back to walking home during the fall with over 100 consecutive days of rain, enduring soggy shoes, soggy pants, soggy life. Remember enduring. Remember the women in your family who cooked rice as part of the endurance test, who served it with malanga doused with bitter orange and chicken they had killed themselves. The rice is done when its surface resembles sand after the tide pulls back, and all of those who live below take a breath. As the cook, you eat the first bite, pulled hot from the pot with your fingers. Give thanks you were able to choose not to wring the white shirts like your grandmother, washing out red earth until your palms cracked. The tide is out. Pick up your pen. Now breathe. Thank you.
Teach me to dream while awake. Thank you, Felicia. Our next reader is Jordan Keith, and she has been awarded fellowships from Wild Branch, Santa Fe Science Writing Workshop, Vona, Hedgebrook, and Jack Straw. She's received funding from Artist Trust for Culture and Seattle's Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs for her choreo poem, The Uterine Files, and Coyote Autumn, a memoir. She is a former Seattle poet populist, which, is that program still going? Ah, I see. Okay. So, but is the program continuing? Ah, okay. So I hadn't heard anything about it recently. She is also a storyteller and a student of Sonia Sanchez. Her work is included in the anthologies Dismantle, Something to Declare, and Maka, Diasporic Jukes, and in Orion, which I'm really jealous of, and Yes Magazine, and maybe I should be jealous of more of those, but I really like Orion. Please welcome Jordan Keith.
I have to say I'm impressed that you got that macaw. You're like the only person that's ever not asked me how to say that and actually gotten it all right. How you guys doing? I'm going to try that again. How you guys doing? I'm going to try it one more time because I ain't up here by myself. You got to come into this room. How you doing?
All right.
Yeah, I'll leave it there because I know that feeling. I've been kind of carrying it all day. You know, I'm really thankful to be here, mostly because it's wonderful to be invited by Michael and have a chance to hear Felicia and to see a place I haven't seen and to know this space is here. So when I want to run away from Seattle, I feel like I have a place that I can come that feels like what I miss. So I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like I'm all over the map today. It's been a week of storm of some sort. And I say that to you because it's kind of a warning. Like, normally I say, oh, I'm going to read you this poem, and then I will read this other poem. But I know what I'm going to read you, but I'm going to let the poems volunteer their order. And also, you should wave frantically if I start to, when I get to the 5-minute mark. So what I do want to share with you is I've been deeply disturbed by the news. And I always read the news and it deeply disturbs me. Am I the only one that happens to? Okay. So sometimes then you also must have these moments where something just, even though you're always disturbed, it just kind of pushes you over a little place. I am going to read a poem at the end for you that I don't think after I read it I will be able to read anything else, so you'll see when we get there. But I wanted to share with you work that I don't get to share very often. Years ago, and just a minute ago at the same time, I wrote this play called The Uterine Files, and give you a little bit of background from it. It's a choreo poem, and for who knows the play For Colored Girls by Ntozake Shange, for colored girls who considered suicide when the rainbow is enough. Only Felicia, you're the only one who knows it? All right, I gotta get my chair. So I'm a teacher too, so you guys are going to have to leave here and read that play. And it's an amazing gift to us all. And this play that she wrote has you can see it staged in Seattle pretty much every other year, and it's a chorus of women who are speaking to just the subject that I said. You don't have to be a colored girl to have considered suicide when the rainbow is enough. And the rainbow is represented by these different women who are actually wearing different colors, and they speak to different things that have happened in their life and surviving it. And it's funny, and it's got stories from dances and loves and crazy moments that happen, as well as, fighting desperately to keep a man who's lost his mind from the Vietnam War from throwing your baby out the window. I mean, there's some serious places in this poem. So this is the title of this piece, The Uterine Files, Episode 1, Voices Spitting Out the Rainbow, is a nod to two things because I'm special. And the one thing is a nod towards Ntozake, and the other one is the X-Files, which, please tell me people have watched the X-Files in here. Thank God, okay. So the X-Files was I love that. And it's not that I don't believe all of it is true. I do think that you should trust no one. And they're but I'm not really sure about I don't know. Government conspiracy, that works for me. There probably are little green men or women or something somewhere. The point of the reference is that, and why it's called Episode 1, is the intention was to write this piece that has some paranormal experience. As I began to write it, all these other voices came out first. So there has to be an episode 2, which is really actually quite creepy. So the premise of this story is there are several women's voices that you will hear. The voices go from the late 1860s, this woman whose name is Virginia Mary, to the present time, which keeps moving forward. And these women are all of African descent, all African American, really. And I played the role of all of these women in the play because it's representing one spirit being possessed by these stories of ancestry. And in episode 2, you find out some really creepy stuff about why that's happening. So that is all I'm going to tell you. I'm going to start from the middle of the play, sort of. But I want you to hear this quote, and it is from a book called Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom. And the quote is, "Mental and emotional energy goes in and out of physical form regularly, bouncing on the continuum between energy and matter, particle and wave." That's the Uterine Files. That's the X-Files part of it. Family recipes. We are the recipes of the old ones. Our hips stir with memories unspoken. Spoonfuls of the past heaped high as grits and gravy. One nod of the head, 2 teeth sucking, several pinches of a sideways glance. We are the ingredients of their last kiss. Mama was holy ground, full of Sunday mornings, hallelujah hips and hands raised high. We are the uterine files, tucked away, America's alien womb, filled with silent might masses. In the name of the Father, we do not know. In the name of the Son, you would not claim. Our wombs were stolen with silence. Perhaps our voices are carried out in the current of blood. How do you feel about your uterus? Her sterilized voice hung in the starched white boundaries of her medicine. The majority of women who have fibroid tumors are of African descent. The majority of hysterectomies are performed to remove fibroids. How do you feel about your uterus? Are you hysterical? Can I cut the womb of your tongue to stop the wailing, to stop generations from screaming? What are we without our tongues? These are the uterine files, the collective aftershock, the transgenerational post-traumatic stress syndrome. Trust no one. We are the life they are afraid of. We are the salt of brown earth. We are our grandmother's tears bundled up in the paleness that ripped apart her womb. When they find the fiber of our stories balled up like a discarded child, it is removed, leaving only the outline of womanhood in the memory of history. Slave, then free, then Martin. Our intuition synthesized by hormones. No woman, no child. How do you feel about your uterus? Are you hysterical? So, what we have explored in this chapter is the confines of a racist construct which employed slavery as its vehicle for economic growth and the development of the labor industry prior to emancipation. We've explored its impact on language. What we'll be exploring is its impact on love. Stacy, club girl. After the first night, he fit the sexual composite of every hit and run lover that made me do things I am not in the mood to discuss with you. So I wanted to know, is this a viral thing? Is this a 24 to 72 hour love? Will the sweating stop? The groaning and thrashing under the covers? Will my skin be on fire? My pores responding to the emergency, soaking the sheets until my tears join in? To recover, will I need painkillers or Prozac? I want to know, what kind of protection should I use? Virginia Mary. Patrollers would come looking for him. Run, nigga, run. The troller's gonna get ya. Run, nigga, run. They'll take you away. Run, nigga, run. They'll take you away. We'd sing that song in the field, running up and down to chase the crows. We'd hide and jump out at each other and sing when we was little. Thomas, he wasn't never my husband. He loved me so I let him. Henry was mine. He was sweet as a Sunday biscuit, and he could write. First time I saw Henry, we was singing. He come from the Bennett's farm. Master Bennett would let some folks go out at night and others not. Henry, he learned to write these passes and would give them out. We had good meetings then. Sonia. His kisses were Saturday midnight. And I was always wishing for sofas and Sundays, the amen of brown arms, quiet light filtering through the staccato sounds of breakfast frying, or the soprano scent of Saturday morning humming in the kitchen light. Henry got caught. Master Charles came into the cabin screaming, "Whose are you? What's your name, nigger?" 'Cause Henry was naked. He told him he better get out of here and get back to Master Bennett's, that he didn't have no place here. After a while, he got caught again, and they sent word out to the Bennett place. That's how they found out about his writing. They hung him up by one arm and put the weight on his feet. After a while, I never saw him no more. I remember that winter, Master Charles was putting a owning me, 'cause his father got a cough real bad and died right sudden. Mrs. came out on the porch crying to tell us all the niggas was sorry, 'cause Master Charles was always mean. He didn't want to give us no new clothes, no shoes. Frost bit my feet, and the cold made them crack and bleed. My dress had balls of ice on the bottom. I hid the blood in the dirt. Mrs. got mad. Mrs. got me so I could work inside. Said I still was her favorite little pickaninny, even though I'd grown tall. Master Charles come after me not long after that. He kept calling me to his rooms, so I starts running, and calling out, and Mrs. calling out to his mother, calling out to the crow when I gets back to the field. Only the crows answer. I remember they came down. They remembered me and got between us. Some took to his face, but most grabbed me and just lifted me off. They took me away. I knew they couldn't carry me far, over a few rows or so, but Master Charles was so shocked looking up, and all the others looking up at me. I know they dropped me 'cause I was heavy, 'cause I had a little blood on my head in the back where they dropped me. I told my mama how I got away, how the crows helped me. She hushed me and held me and said, "That's good, baby girl. That's good. I'm glad you got away. Good, baby girl. I'm glad you got away." They sold me after that. I was glad to be away from the corn. Giselle. She was right. I had been in love with myself. Jasmine ran through my canyons, and every time she dipped herself in me, I fell in love. I was an open mouth, speaking the river that carved me into the deep, jagged earth between us. So when she come into me, and she came up, baptized in sweat, trembling between my legs, bringing my tears back to the surface, she was right. I had escaped the verbal scalding from my mother's tongue, and received only the second-degree burns of abuse that splashed across my sister's psyche. Mama was holy ground, full of Sunday mornings, hallelujah hips and hands raised high. Child Mama was always preaching. She would make up her own sermons to fit the mood or the crime. Funny, though, she hadn't clapped for years because it was outlawed by the Presbyterians. And there was no music at our church that you could even remotely consider clapping to. So it's not to tempt people. The apple don't fall far from the tree, as folks say. So during the week, there were these regular impromptu sermons intended to govern our behavior more than any other authority, more than just hers. Jesus was the man of the house in my father's absence, although he was never mentioned by name. Jesus, that is. These sermons varied in length and always started with sayings like, God don't like ugly, to my all-time favorite, lie not at all, lie not without a cause. Relics, I guess, from her growing up. Now, being able to lie, if there was a cause, made God seem right flexible to me, which I later learned was not the case. There were certain laws that had to be followed, and other laws, although they were written side by side, that could be ignored. Black folk are not trying to give up seafood and pork. I don't care what the Bible says. Sodomy is one thing, pork's another. Mama didn't really read the Bible, I guess. Like most folks, she just went by what other folks said that it said. I don't really know for sure. We did sleep with a Bible under our pillows so that the protective aura it possessed would keep us from having bad dreams or doing bad things, I guess. I first became troubled by the style of her sermons, which began to lean more and more toward fire and brimstone during my sister's pre-adolescent years. There were a lot more of the prophecies of impending doom, which my sister has gone on to fulfill. Sermons directed at me probably would have been on the line of, God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. But that catchy phrase hadn't been around at the time. Anita Bryant was not nearly as clever and catchy in her insults in the gay community as Jerry and Pat Gang are. I ducked the insults that were hurled at the dykes and fairies on the television, making their appearance in news clips. They broke into the bullets and broccoli monotony of the Vietnam War. It's funny how moving things around makes you have to move everything around. You know, cause and effect. Because I can't do nothing else but move the furniture around. I went out with a restless man. He was always moving things around. I'd come home from the hospital, and he'd have a surprise for me. I got the kids to help, he'd say. I rearranged the kitchen, the living room, downstairs, upstairs. He was constantly changing things in the house. A few times I came home and walked into something that he'd moved in the middle of the night. He was trying to figure out the right place for everything. But life still fit him like a crumpled coat. It was somebody else's, and it just seemed like he never noticed that until it was too late. He just kept moving his soul around the room, putting it out in the middle of the darkness for me to trip over. I never knew what I was stumbling over, and he never could explain. He just kept moving things while I was asleep until one night he moved himself down the stairs and outside the door. As for me, I never liked moving anything. I unpack and put things where they should be. I never need to move them around. Paul was the first man I dated, the first man I've slept with. We've been married since high school. Well, not really, but we've been off and on together since the 10th grade. 1 year after another, first his parents' house, then mine, now our own, my own. I don't think I ever liked that sofa. I'm going to end that excerpt there. And I'm going to close with this piece, and I have no idea what time it is, so if you were supposed to panic 5 minutes ago and you didn't, it's not my fault. This poem is called TikTok, and so anybody paying attention to what's going on in Ferguson? So you guys know about Michael Brown, right? And you know people are saying, put your hands up. That's your self-defense. Put your hands up. Yeah. And I wrote this poem before that happened last year. It is going to require you to participate, which I know is going to come as a shock to some of you, but I will not let you leave until you do, so just agree now. And I will show you what will be required when it comes to the participation part. God help me. So, as I mentioned, the hands up part, I wrote this last year, actually. I've had the honor of being commissioned to write a poem for Dr. King every year since Katrina for the University of Washington, and this is what came out last year, and it's just nauseatingly fitting for this year. But the gesture is tick-tock. So don't make me suffer. You're going to have to do it now so we don't have to keep practicing. Tick-tock. And some of you who remember clocks or watches, they go, what time is it? It's either midnight or noon, right? All right. So these are some quotes from our beloved Dr. King. There comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor political, nor popular. But he must take it because conscience tells him it is right. Tick-tock. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. So this poem was inspired by a woman who everyone called crazy on Market Street, where I lived in Philadelphia, and she stood under the big clock, which we called Big Ben because it was William Penn, and she would always yell when the clock struck. So remembering people I've never known. It's call and response in 3 parts, and the second part are all Dr. King's words. Tick-tock. How can I take time swinging into the air, turn it into a pendulum you can see? The urgency of ancestors in the limbs of trees. How to remind you of the seconds threading each minute to the next. The urgency of quilts at the crossroads, stitching stars to the underground railroad. Directions for escape blowing in the sunlight. Language blowing in plain sight. How to remind you, if there is no language moving through time, no little hand to reach the big hand, no second hand sucking its tongue through 60 seconds of possibility. What if we were counting courage at the speed of lives lost? What if we were counting deeds per second, the way Ida B. Wells counted lynchings to make them stop? What if we stand our ground, hold open the throat of justice until it wakes up screaming, I have a dream. I have a dream. Trayvon is alive. Jordan is alive. Michael Brown is alive. Oscar got up from his face down, bullet in the back in the Fruitvale station, and he's holding hands with his daughter. 2. What if we dramatize a shameful condition? America has given the Negro a bad check. What if we remind America of the fierce urgency of now, lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice? What if it would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment? 3. What if we tick-tock, raise our hands above our heads, right one up, left one ticking towards it, tick-tock. Every time we witness injustice. Tick-tock. Every time we're going to speak up. Tick-tock. Every time we need solidarity. Tick-tock. Every time we're going to act. Tick-tock. All of you. Tick-tock. Say it with me. For the work, you will need both hands. Tick-tock. For jobs with justice. Say it with me. Tick-tock. For equal pay. Tick-tock. For rainbow love. Tick-tock. For women's safety. Tick-tock. To stop global warming. Tick-tock. For education. Tick-tock. For cleaner water. Tick-tock. For safer air. Tick-tock. For native justice. Tick-tock. To stop extinctions. Tick-tock. For people's health. Tick-tock. To house the homeless. Tick-tock. To stop brutality. Tick-tock. For children's safety. Tick-tock. To call for peace. Tick-tock. Before your time's up. Tick-tock. It's urgent. Now. Thank you. Shameless self-promotion and snack money. There's an anthology called Dismantle on this table with some insanely amazing poems that will change your life, I swear to you. Or you can call me back and get your money back if I give you my phone number. And one of my poems is in there, and there's a couple of other pieces that come as a nice set. So be stupid not to do shameless self-promotion. Thank you.
I'll bet you didn't know you were going to do aerobics tonight. My sister used to work on the X-Files show. Really? Yep, and she gave me some signed scripts from a few episodes, yeah. I thought they might be valuable, so I looked them up on eBay, and they're actually not. Well, they are to me, too, but I thought they might be worth a lot more. Maybe it depends on the episode, or I don't know who signed it. Couple of announcements here. First, I wanted to mention that the Redmond Association of Spoken Word will be having its monthly reading tomorrow night, and that will be at the Old Redmond Schoolhouse Community Center, and it will feature Deb Lund, who's a children's book author. She has a series of children's books on dinosaurs, like Dino Soaring and Dino Train, and different modes of transportation, and numerous other books. And she's also a creativity coach, and she'll be talking about all of that tomorrow. So please come to that at 7 o'clock at the Old Redmond Schoolhouse Community Center. And if you'll give me a second here to wake my phone up. Next month, here at Soul Food for Soul Food Poetry Night, December 18, our readers are Jill McCabe Johnson and Tina Schumann. So please come back for that on December 18. And I need to update the website. We have a whole bunch of readers signed up for next year already. And so we're going to continue doing this little party. I'll get the website updated soon. I also wanted to invite you to an event that I'm doing on December 6th. How many of you have been to the Redmond Lights activity? A few people? Okay, if you haven't been, it's really a fun evening. It's if you go to City Hall, it's on December 6th this year. They decorate all the holiday lights. Usually it's along the river path, but this year I think they're focusing on the Redmond Connector Trail. And there's a bunch of booths and all the Christmas lights everywhere, hot air balloons and bell choirs and lots of bands and music, and there's a big stage set up here, and Santa will make his appearance, and they'll have the lighting of the Christmas tree. Big celebration. And to help kick it off, I'm reading some poetry. I have a new book called True Colors, and it will be launched on December 6th at 4 o'clock. There are some flyers here. I'll put them out here. The reading is at 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon, and I'll read a variety of poetry, including poems from the new book. So please come to that. And it's sort of an interactive thing, because the way I understand it, I think this is the way we're going to do it, is that you can have a free copy of the book if you promise to do something. The book collects a set of poems in the renge form, which is like the old classical Japanese renga linked verse form, but it's a special variation of it invented by a poet named Gary Gay, who put his name with renga to make the term renge, and it's much shorter than the very long Japanese linked verse. And the idea is you could have a free book if you promise somewhere, sometime in the next year, to hold a renge party. So you get some people together. We'll have instructions for how to do it. You get some people together and you write it collaborative. It's a collaborative writing form usually, and you could write it with one other person or several. It's up to you. So that's the challenge if you would like a free book. And I should mention they are really cool. It's the book is about so big, and it's got a peg in the corner, and it rotates out. So all the pages fan out like a paint swatch. And there are different color photographs alternating with the poems all the way through. So it's a really unusual book. So please come on December 6th for that if you can. Enough announcements from me. Let's take a 10-minute break, get something to eat or drink at the bar. If you want to look at some books here, please do that. If you haven't yet signed up for our open mic, the sign-up sheet is over there, and we'll get going again in a few minutes. Thank you once more.